Hello, beautiful muses. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot and this week's mystery message, which is going to be coming from the artful side of yourself. Wants to bring a mystery message. And what I mean by that is, you know, we all have an artfulness within us that we can tap into. And it's not saying you have to be an artist. We can be artful in the way we make tea. We can be artful in the way we make a bed. We can literally be artful in creating art, whatever it is, artful in the way you mother. We all have artful capacity within us. And so tapping into the artful element within you guys and bringing forth some kind of like unearthing. When I say a mystery message, it's like unearthing something that's a little bit below the surface that isn't obvious. So yeah, we are going to pick 3 piles for this, and feel free to choose more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. Okay, so let's get our piles here. We've got concept, we've got creation, and the pioneer. Okay, let me straighten these out just a little bit. Okay, so pile 1 is concept, pile 2 is creation, pile 3 is the pioneer. Again, feel free to choose more than one. Pause here if you need more time to tune into these 3 piles, the images, maybe the title jumps out at you, or the number of the pile, whatever it is. When you are ready, timestamps will be in the descriptions as usual, and you can jump straight to your readings, and I will see you guys there. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your mystery message from the artful aspect of yourself. And so tapping into this first card, concept, there is something coming through from the artful side of you that's saying it's time to shake things up a little. Really start to notice and pay attention to those things that have become habitual, routine, monotonous. Not that all things routine and habitual are bad, but there's something that's become like too stagnant, where an artful side of you is trying to say, like, I'm ready for new concepts, new ways of thinking and doing things, or just introducing very new types of things into my life. Like, I'm ready to conceive of new things. So what kind of like shake-up energy can you tap into by being aware of what feels stagnant in your life? So like the first step is like just noticing what feels like it's no longer productive to you, like it's no longer fitting in your life, because there's like no real growth or movement happening. And so around those types of things where it feels like something's stuck, it feels like something's not growing, can you do a shake-up? If possible, if it's accessible to you, can you even just sort of like throw some habitual and routine things out of your life to make space, right? I do feel like there's something here about like making space for even conceiving of something different, you know, like something totally, not just doing something in a more mindful way or in a new way or shaking up how you're doing something, but it's like making space to conceive of new things. So really pay attention to, yeah, anything that just feels like it's hit the end of its growth road, that like in your habitual life, in your routines, in the things you know you can be on autopilot with. Like, what's just taking up space now that's not actually important, it's not actually thriving, it's not actually interesting to you. You know, keep a journal with you for like 3 or 4 days and just write down all the things that you typically do and note how you feel about them. Is this interesting? Does this still fit in my life? Do I like doing this? You know, that kind of stuff too, because I feel like there's something about making space for just new, just fresh ideas, I don't know, the artful side of you just wants something fresh, I think, to touch. Okay, let's get an Earth Alchemy card. Let's see what else comes out here. Not even looking at the title of this card yet, just the colors here feel very vital, feel very fresh and new to me, especially that like limey green sphere that's sitting above the lotus flower. And then this says, sink into silence, reflection, and tranquility. I like that. So honestly, this feels like a step-by-step process. So we've talked about like keeping a little notepad or a journal sort of tied to your hip for a few days and noting all those routine things you do. What is no longer needed? Like, what can you just fully throw out? And with the space made, instead of just filling it back up with something because there's space, take that time to have space, to sit, to be silent, to listen to yourself, to listen to your breath, to connect to your breath, to connect to your center. There is something about like reconnecting to your own center here. That sinking into silence, reflection, tranquility. Make space to reconnect to you. And I think something will grow from that. Some new concepts will start to unfurl in that silence. New impulses, right? So don't just fill new things in just because, but take some time. Weed out things that give you space and time to tap into some silence and tranquility. That is what will help you to connect to the kinds of new concepts, the new conceptions that your artful side is ready to bring in. And I think in that silence, in reflection and tranquility, like asking your center, yourself, to connect to your artful side. What is your artful side? What is the artful you? Okay, let's get a Citadel card to see what aspect of yourself this might help. What aspect of you this artful side wants to bring new concepts to. So getting a little more specific here. I felt this one, the Sailor. New influences and wanderlust. This in general feels like pushing your boundaries. Like whatever new kind of concepts are allowed in, new conceptions that start to unfurl, like allow them to scare you a little bit. Allow them to ask you to push your boundaries, to do things very unfamiliar or that you would normally just like not even think of because that's, that's a scary notion. And literally, if something comes up about like a journey or some travel abroad, if that's accessible to you, or something that really shakes your life up into a whole new kind of territory, like a move, right? Exploring the world. Maybe there's just like a whole new way you're supposed to be connecting to the energy of the world in general, right? Like the ley lines, the energetics on the ley lines are like trying to push you around or something like that. I don't know why I got that image for some of you. Yeah. If there's something going on in your life, I don't know why this message came through, so it's probably for like one or two specific people. But if there's something going on that feels like it's collapsing life as you knew it, like all of the routine you used to have is no longer really valid or accessible or something, it's like try to see some kind of silver lining here. Try to take the space that's being made for you, if that resonates to you, if that makes sense to you, to sit in some reflection, to connect to maybe there's a higher purpose here, there's a higher meaning here or something. And where does the world seem to be pushing me, right? If that doesn't, I feel like that message is for like one or two people, so don't worry if that doesn't make sense to you. But in general, it's just like, make some space in your life and allow some very expansive, boundary pushing concepts to be conceived of. And not just as fantasy, as something that's like fun to dream about but not take action on, but something that you challenge yourself to do. I like this new influences. What does that mean to you? New influences. Do you need to meet new people? Do you need to visit different places? Do you need to take a class that makes you think differently? I don't know. Something about new influences does feel important here. Okay, we are going to get a card under each of the cards that were already out as sort of like extra context. And this is a tarot / oracle deck, so there's major arcana and oracle cards in this deck. It's sort of unique that way, but fun. Some of the oracle cards, I haven't used this deck a ton, so I don't know what all of the oracle decks are, or the oracle cards are about. So I do have the handy guidebook over here in case there's one that pops out that I'm not really sure about. Okay, so let's get Tower, and this was in reverse. I think there's some, I'm glad you've come to this reading because there's something, and in line with a mystery meeting, because we're like unearthing something that's not quite, accessible to you unless you were to really pry and dig. And so this is like unearthing something from that artful voice in you. And it's saying you are more stuck than you realize, and you are more ready to shake things up than you realize. Like you're not totally conscious of this, but like pay attention. I think that's why that like notepad or journal idea came up, because it's like I think you need to do some observation here. I don't think you're fully conscious of like ways in which you could shake things up and eliminate things to free up space for more artful concepts in your life, artful conceptions. So all the more reason, because this isn't really even on the surface of your consciousness. So it does kind of feel like this artful voice is like not close to your surface, and it's trying to send a signal, right? It's like, hey, listen, listen, listen. And it kind of is like this echo you're hearing is white noise right now. But hopefully this reading helps you to be like, oh, I do hear that voice. Like there is something in me saying, hey, life could feel a little bit more artful, but I really need to shake something up. I have, like there are things I can shake up. There are things I can eliminate. And for that one or two of you where it sort of felt like that's happened to you, not by choice, this is saying there's something unconscious here. Again, like I said, like there is a silver lining that you're not wanting to connect to. That's what it feels like. Like maybe there's some too many feelings on the surface for you to want to even connect to, that there might be a silver lining. And so for both scenarios, all the better to keep a journal to reflect about the space that you can create for new concepts to arise in you from your artful side. Shakeups that might be good for you. Okay. The river, yeah, be okay with this being meandering. I don't think that like that artful voice in you isn't saying like I want something specific, like I need more actual art in my life. It's saying I just need exploration. I just need to see more of the world or explore new ideas or explore different philosophies. I need to be exposed to new influences. I don't need anything specific other than to be exposed to things outside of my boundaries that push me a little, that shake up how I think, shake up how I live, shake up what I'm doing, what's important to me, to rediscover myself in a totally new, different way. And that is requiring a meandering path. That is requiring a little bit of upheaval. That is requiring some wanderlust. Yeah, I like this reading. I think, it's going to take some observation to really plug into this, but I think it something that will really revive something in you by listening to this voice. And you can choose not to listen to it. Virgo. Yeah, lifestyle. Your whole lifestyle needs, it's like you want a completely different lifestyle maybe, or I don't think you are craving that because we've picked up on, I don't think this is, this is something that's a little buried in you. But I think the more you get in touch with it, the more you're going to see this is like a whole thing of the more you meander, the more you expose yourself to new influence, the more you allow yourself to wander and shake things up, the more you will realize that the lifestyle you have maybe isn't the lifestyle you want, or the lifestyle you have is maybe just the one that was accessible to you or that was modeled to you and you didn't even know what other lifestyles there could be. But with a little meandering, a little wandering, a little bit of pushing your boundaries, some reflection and journaling as you do so, you may all of a sudden be like, oh, wow, I had no idea there were, obviously we're all aware there's a lot of different kinds of lifestyles out there, but to notice the intricacies of that and open up to could that actually be a lifestyle that I plug into? I don't know, we don't do that a lot, right? Because we're just in our comfort zones. And there's something here so it feels like your artful self is kind of, maybe that's why you're not listening to it, because I think it really wants to shake you up, kind of in a big way, almost moving to a different country style of shake up. doesn't have to be that, but in that kind of realm, like, see how other people live, explore different ways of organizing a lifestyle. There's something, I think your artful self is like, I want to connect to lifestyle in a way that's more interesting to me, that's new, that's to me, not new, and it's like a new lifestyle that's been newly conceived of, but conceiving of a lifestyle for me that's new, that's maybe actually ancient in another part of the world, but for me it's new. Or it could be a totally new lifestyle style, whatever. But there's something where I think your artful self is like, I'm not living as in whole. My whole lifestyle isn't as artful as I feel a want to get my hands into. Like, there's something here about this. Okay, to end, I'm just going to bring up an affirmation in connection to this reading. We'll see how that aligns. Fire agate is what came up for you guys with creativity. That makes sense. I allow the creativity of my soul to shine through into my world. Yeah, so your artful self, it makes sense, wants like a more creative world for you. Lifestyle, but world in relation to lifestyle. Okay, I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes are easy ways to do that. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well, and hope to see you in future readings, and good luck with working on this. And I hope you do tap into this and really connect to your artful self, and I don't know, a little shake-up. I know it can be scary, but I think there's something ready to unleash here if you listen to it that could be a positive kind of renovation. Okay, anyway, that's where I'll leave you, and hope to see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your mystery message, and this week's is from the artful part of yourself. So like an artful voice within you wants to be heard, right? It has a message that's a little mysterious that it wants to kind of, something that's somewhat that you're somewhat unconscious of. Something about this voice and its feelings and its wants, and so unearthing something you aren't in touch with yet, right, from this artful voice. And this card that you picked is the Four of Creation, kind of the heart of what's coming up here. And it's a really interesting card. It has a lot to do with the whole cycle of life as a creation process. Right? So a lot of times we tap into this notion of like always wanting growth and sort of enduring those moments of things coming to end, things going through tough cycles, things having to go through destruction phases. It's like sometimes we consider those more things that we have to endure, and just it's part of a process. But when do I get back to the creation, right? The growth. But this artful voice in you is wanting you to tap more intricately into that whole cycle of growth that includes, destruction as growth. Like it's all, even though destruction we think as the antithesis to growth, in the viewpoint of the artful self and of creation, destruction is growth in a different way. You could kind of think of it like I always tend to tap into seasonality to talk about things. It's just like a framework that's easy to use. So like spring and summer are these, these growth phases. And then we come into autumn when like leaves fall, especially if you're somewhere that has seasons. I'm aware not everyone really experiences fall and winter the way some places do. But in a seasonally based place, you come into autumn and it's like the leaves fall and there's a lot of death in nature around you. And then winter, it's like that cover of snow, or just at least that really cold freeze. Things are hibernating, right? And so we kind of think of those as like the destruction and the incubation phase. But in the viewpoint of creation, it's like, in spring and summer, that external growth that we can see, that's visible to us, that's growth in our external world. But it's kind of stressing the underworld, what's under the surface. It's destroying the nutrients that are underfoot. It is, the underworld is going through its autumn and winter when the surface is going through its spring and summer. And then when we go into autumn and winter, all that death is feeding the underground. It's feeding our soils. And that hibernation is this rejuvenation and healing and restoring process. And it's stressing the external world. All of that growth and life is decomposing and going back in ground. So above ground in our winter and autumn, we see death and destruction, but underground, they're having their spring and summer. And so like, I feel like this artful side of you is saying like, there's maybe a different viewpoint you can have on the cycles of life. And how can you tap into what you perceive as autumn and winter, or destructive and ending phases in life, as actually there's something that's feeding. There's actually growth happening because of that inside of yourself. So yeah, I don't know exactly why this message is coming up from your artful self. It's probably personal to each of you, but it's like wanting you to tap into how you connect to the cycles of life in different ways, in a more growth oriented perspective in terms of like where growth is happening at each stage of a life cycle. And embracing the destruction, whether that's underfoot or above, in your visible life or internally, because one or the other is feeding the other. Like one's always growing and one's always going through destruction and ending. And it's like, maybe if you can like, I don't know, let your artful self explore concepts around that, like things going on in your world, in your life, you might be able to look at more artfully instead of like more tumultuously or something, or in having it impact like your mental health in a certain way, or I don't know. It's just like like your artful self wants you to broaden your perspective, right? Something like that. And I'm not saying that you're not aware of, like I'm sure some of you, as I'm talking, are like, yeah, I'm aware of this, but I don't know, your artful self is just like deepen into that. Like, I don't know, take what I just said and go way further, right? Explore this all. Okay, so from the Earth Alchemy to add on to this, we've got Pixie Helpers and Green Aventurine. Not all wanderers are lost. Clearing the way, luck, opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I do think maybe there's some endings going on in your life right now, and it's like, how can you look at that as actually like there's growth happening because of that in some other aspect of you? Maybe something you perceive as ending and you're fixated on and it's hard. It's like, how can you look at that as like contributing to some other kind of growth in your life? And how, with that perspective, can that awaken you to opportunities that you're not seeing? luck that's available to you if you would look. And I think because there's, my sense is if you've come here, there's some kind of ending going on in your life. Just know, I mean, I feel like I'm like Captain Obvious right now, so I don't know why this is coming up, but like, obviously, right, when things end, it clear, this title of clearing the way, like it makes space for something else. But I am feeling this thing of like, even though what's leaving is making space for something else, it's like before you even get to that, just look at what is being fed by something ending. Not the space that's being made by the ending, but what that's actually feeding. Like, look at that first. I think there's something about connecting to that first, and then you can look at the space that's being made in a different way than you're looking at it now. And so maybe that's what this is about, is it's like needing you to process things in a different way right now. And your artful self is saying, like, I can help you connect into these really elegant ways of evolving in your life, these really vital ways, creation-oriented ways of evolving in your life. If you allow me to more philosophically and observationally tap into what's happening in aspects of me I'm not tapping into because of endings that are happening. So it's sort of like, not all wanderers are lost. It's like this, I feel like there's some inner exploration needing to take place to notice the growth that's happening inside of you, while there's maybe something ending in the external aspect of life. And it's gonna, like, your artful self is saying, like, I can turn the way you're thinking about everything or experiencing everything on its head. I can really transform how, and like bring more artfulness to how you're experiencing something in life right now that is ending. If you aren't experiencing some ending that you're connecting to about this, it's just like, I don't know, I think it's just this philosophical, like your artful self is maybe a philosopher, and it's like, let me explore these like life and death issues, right? Like there's something beautiful about it that's deeper than I have yet gone. Like maybe you're someone that has gone deep with this, but it's like deeper, right? Like there's something more here. Okay, so we are going to pick a Citadel card. It kind of has archetypal, this deck kind of has archetypal energy in a way, but I'm using it as like kind of a conceptual curiosity into what aspect of you this artful self is trying to help with its message, or that it could help with this, with this mystery message it's bringing. Feeling this one. The Sentinel, determination, certainty. I'm trying to think how this connect, like in what way this connects. There's different ways this might connect, and I need to feel into this for just a second. Like part of me is feeling like your artful self maybe thinks you're too stubborn right now. You're not allowing certain things in terms of change. You're like not allowing maybe some endings to take place that need to be allowed out. Like, Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. So like the sentinel is kind of like the guards at the door, right? And a lot of times we think about that in terms of what we are letting in or not letting in. But I'm feeling it oppositely here, just the way I was feeling like, you know, the opposite seasons being felt in terms of above and below ground. It's like there's some change you're not, like your artful self at least is perceiving. That there's some change that you are clinging, like you're clinging to something that you don't want to change. And it's like there's actually something you need to let out of the gates. There's something that's like wanting to leave, wanting wanting to be done with some kind of cycle. And it's like you're blocking the change, you're not letting it out. But I don't know. Anyway, that's sort of what I'm feeling. I don't know why. Because usually this would be more like, what are you letting in? I don't know. It's just like, sometimes that's hard to explain why a unconventional interpretation pops up. Maybe when we are going to move to tarot after this, and maybe that will bring more insight into why I'm feeling like there's something your artful self is saying, like you're not allowing to end, you're not allowing a change or something. And if you were to open up not just to the philosophy of life cycles, but to the courage of allowing life cycles. Sometimes, like philosophically, we get it, but if we were to examine our own lives, we don't always practice it, and we don't always see that we don't practice it. I could call myself out on that. And so maybe there's something you need to like observe, like what are you not being courageous or adventurous enough in terms of allowing those natural life cycles to take place. And by looking at it as like allowing something to end in our visible life is allowing something to grow inside, like that might make you feel more adventurous about that, allowing the change, allowing an ending. I don't know. Hopefully, I feel like I'm rambling now, so I'm going to move on to the next cards. But I feel like there's something I'm trying to mine that I'm like not quite getting. I don't know what that is. Like there's something this artful voice is. I feel it saying like, yeah, you're like it's talking to me. Like, yeah, you get the gist of it, but there's something distilled you're not quite hitting yet. I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's move on and maybe it will come. So this is a tarot deck plus an oracle deck. So it has the major arcana of the tarot plus some oracle. Some of the oracle cards I'm not familiar with, so I do have the guidebook next to me just in case one of those pops up. Okay, so we have the Emperor under creation. Yeah, your artful self is wanting some new order. And it's ready. It's saying like, you're strong enough, I'm strong enough, we're ready for some new order. Like you are, that kind of clicks something into place of that thing where I felt like I wasn't quite distilling something or finding that distilled message. This feels helpful. This feels clarifying to me quite a bit. I don't know if it's the full distilled thing I'm supposed to find, but it feels like it relieves a lot of that tension I was feeling of not quite hitting something, where it's like, yeah, like it's more this general thing of like, I'm ready for fresh order. You're strong enough, I'm strong enough. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, you need to allow life to fall apart a little. You need to let go of some aspects of life And it could be any aspect of life. I'll look at an astrology dice and read the different houses, and maybe one of those will resonate. Your whole sense of self, your personality, what you value, what gives you pleasure is the second house. How you find an income, how you budget your finances, how you mold your physical environments. Third house category, what you are learning, what kind of information you're feeding yourself, the kinds of communities you foster and belong to. Fourth house, your sense of home, family, foundation, connecting into more soulful places, stripping the external world bare to really know what your soul is naked, finding that foundation, your depths. Fifth house, that's your sense of leadership, your sense of command, your ability to stand in the spotlight, your creative, personal creativity. Sixth house is lifestyle, work, wellness, fitness, nutrition. Seventh house is relationships, partnerships, your sense of balance and design and aesthetic. Eighth house is wealth, debt, intimacy, empowerment, entanglements, a lot about power and control. Let's see, ninth house is about life philosophies, what you believe in, the narratives that you buy into and tell and are drawn to, the philosophies you're drawn to, the way you push your boundaries and perspectives, connect to like foreign travel and academia. 10th house is your status in the world, your position, how you build integrity, authority, mastery. 11th house is how you are able to claim your full originality, show your whole spectrum of color, march to your own beat, not really caring what anyone thinks about you, claiming your whole unique, oddball, weirdo self. It's about innovation, progress, collaboration, humanity, the future. 12th house is about art, spirituality, institutions, shadow work, inspiration, cosmic consciousness, angels, that kind of stuff. So one of those categories of life, I know that took a little while, but I really wanted you to plug into like what of the, in those categories that were brought up, what were you like, yeah, I could use a whole new sense of fresh order there, but I need to kind of let things fall apart in order for that to happen. You could rewind it and listen again, asking that question, keeping that question in mind. But I feel like in at least one of those categories, it's like it's time to let things fall apart. You have the strength to do that. And it will allow you to like, yeah, just refresh direction, refresh a sense of order. The Hierophant. I was picking up on this because I kept feeling sort of like an idiot. Like I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I feel like if you came to this pile, you know what I'm talking about, but in terms of like life cycles and death and life and growth and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like I think conceptually, I think philosophically, you're like, I know what you're saying. I get it. I'm aware of all this. It's, you know, pretty basic stuff, but the Hierophant showing up is saying that you actually have like a lot of wisdom here. But sometimes it's easy to preach, you know, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing, and like preach but not practice. And not that like you're or anyone purposely does that. I'm sure some people know they do it, but I think a lot of people don't always see that they're not living what they preach. And I think there's some area where it's like you need to tap into your own wisdom. Like you have the wisdom you need, you understand it, but there's some aspect of practicing it that you're like unaware, like I don't think it's a fear. I don't think it's I mean, maybe there's a little fear there, but it's like unconscious. There's something unconscious. I guess I should just rephrase this. There's something unconscious that you're not practicing what you know. You're not allowing the change. You're not allowing something to end or fall apart or whatever. But it's like, you know, you philosophically, you know, and you have the wisdom, and you've been through enough in your life that you do understand how to allow this to happen, how to go through it, but like subconsciously there's some block. And maybe there is, like, flipping that fear notion on its head. Maybe there actually is a fear. I don't know what that is, though. That kind of feels right. Some kind of, I mean, that it feels clinging, so that does feel like a fear. I don't think there's anything I can say to like erase that fear. I think it's just doing, right? Just finding the courage. But you have this, like, all I see here is you have the wisdom, you know how to do this, you have the strength. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off is sort of what's coming through. Yes, Cancer. Totally. Cancer, clinging. You've got some walls up. I don't know why. Protection. You feel a need to protect something, to cling to something, to build a wall around something. But it's like, it's the unknown. It's the unknown. But like, I think on some level you understand, like on some level you're conscious of this thing that needs to be let go of, to allow life to change in some way. But it's the fact that you don't know what comes after, and whatever it is you're protecting and scared to let go of, it's a comfort zone for you. It's a safety. You feel safe with it. There's a comfort there. And yet you know that you are walling yourself off, or walling this thing in from changing, like keeping change at bay. And it's like, I don't know, it's just time to rip the Band-Aid off is what my feeling is here. And my sense is that if you've come to this pile, you've probably tuned into what this is about for you, because it's probably about something very different for each of you. If you can't think of anything, just kind of observe over the next week. Ask that question, what is it that I'm not allowing to change? And just kind of observe over the next week, like, what am I clinging to that maybe doesn't want to be clinged to? What am I scared of changing? What is a comfort zone that I don't want to let go of, that maybe I need to be letting go of? I don't know. Yeah. I still feel like there's something mysterious I haven't quite tapped. I don't know what to do about that. And it might be because, this might be a pile that like a lot of people came to. And so it's like, I can't quite distill it to anything more specific because of the amount or diversity of people coming here. That kind of feels resonant. Okay, we're gonna get an affirmation card to end, which, I don't know, might shed a little more light on something. Amber, ancestors. My ancestors are guiding and loving me now and always. I am open to receive their support and wisdom. And that is something that I think, lives more in that root system in our life, in that underworld. So even something that, and that's mysterious in itself, something that you might be letting go from the surface of your life could even be feeding your ancestral energy in some way and strengthening them to help be a support for you. That's super mysterious, but that might, with the Cancer thing coming up, that feels resonant. You may be clinging to the way like some family dynamics or home is. I think that's just for a few of you. But it's like your ancestors are helping you, and by allowing certain things to go that are already sort of wanting to go and ready to go, it's like you'll be feeding that ancestral root system, and it will strengthen your underfoot. It will keep you safe. It will protect you the way that you have been guarding your own self with shells and, walls and whatnot. Like, by shedding those, by being more vulnerable in what home, family, protection, security, safety mean, by shedding some walls here, being vulnerable here, it's like your ancestors have got you, and that's feeding them. Shedding the way you're doing something, at least around this. For some of you, that may not connect for all of you. If that doesn't resonate, it's not for you. But just because the ancestor came out in the Cancer, I do feel like there's definitely some people, not just one, but some people here where it's like there's something in relation to home that has gotten like got too comfortable and is like way past its expiration date. And it's like, if you can let go of it, like it's something about that shedding feeds the root system of your ancestors, and they will protect you the way you believe you are protecting yourself right now. But it does ask a vulnerability, and that's that thing where it's like, is there fear? It's a vulnerability. Yeah, there's a vulnerability fear coming through. It doesn't have to literally be about home or family, but I do think it's a vulnerability that you're sensing and scared of. Scared of a vulnerability. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, this was kind of mysterious to me. Part of it felt like I was speaking in codes to people that must understand, because I understand some of what I said. So some of it was like too obvious, and then the other part of it was like, I don't know. I feel like I'm speaking in the code that you guys must understand, but I don't, because anyway, that's where I'll leave this. I hope it did resonate. If so, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments, and would definitely be fascinated by I know there's vulnerability here, so don't feel like you have to share, but if you want to share or feel like you want to be seen or heard for what this connects to, feel free to tell your story in the comments. It'd be interesting to see what this might be to somebody. Okay. All right. This is where I'm going to leave you guys, and I hope to see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your mystery message this week from the artful voice, or the artful aspect of you that wants to come up and has something to share that you are definitely not conscious of. That's why it's a mystery message. Something that the artful side of you wants to share. I have to say, coming to Pile 3, there is a very universal thread that's playing out. Pile 1 and 2 were different, but there were a lot of really resonant parallels, a few overlaps. There were a lot of differences, but I feel in general there is a universal thread playing out, because now as we get to the Pioneer, I'm realizing like it's kind of saying like there's this universal thread that's coming up once again. So I wouldn't be shocked if you come to Pile 3 and you picked multiple piles, you're probably coming to this one last. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you have already gone to at least one pile. Because there's something very universal playing out here. So definitely something in the stars going on with that. So anyway, let's jump in. Pioneer. I won't expand on the other piles or what that universal thread is, because I don't want to ruin if you want to go to any other piles, but just saying, I just have to voice it because it's astounding sometimes. Those parallels is like, just just a general blanket statement. There is a very universal thread playing out, even though playing out in different ways, but still same kind of thread. Anyway, jumping into you guys though, the Pioneer, this is the main kind of message coming up from your artful self, the artful aspect of you that wants to be heard and has a message for you. This is about, I mean, obviously you think of the Pioneer and it is like setting out into new frontiers. You think of like the Wild West, or, you know, cowboys or pioneers moving out into territories unexplored by anyone that they've ever known, right? Obviously there's probably natives that they've never encountered, maybe some places nobody has been, no humans. But you do think of that pioneering spirit going somewhere that no accessible knowledge about where you're going is available. Nobody has information from you. No one's bit that you know has been where you're going. It is a new frontier for you, right? Doesn't mean it's a new frontier altogether in the world, but a new frontier to you. But sometimes it can mean that. Sometimes you can look at innovators like, you know, someone like I don't know, I'm not really a fan of Elon Musk, so I hate using him as an example, but like an Elon Musk that, like, I don't know, pioneers new technologies, right? So there can be like innovations that are wholly new to our species, at least, or our world. But there's some kind of, you know, your artful self is saying like you're ready to embark on a new horizon, but one that there's no map for where you're going. There's no prior experiences, prior information about, like, you just kind of have to set foot into the new horizon. But the thing coming through here is your artful self is saying like, you're ready for this. I'm ready for this. Like, this is, I feel this as like more than the other two piles is like, this is happening. I feel like in the other two piles there were some choices around some letting goes. In this one I feel like it's like you're already on the threshold. This is happening. But the reason you haven't stepped over the threshold into the actual new horizon is like these last straggling attachments you're holding on to. They're like, your artful self is saying there are some attachments you're still holding on to that you need to let go of in order for you to step into this new territory that you already kind of have a view of, that you already know is there. At least sense it. I don't know that you actually can like witness it or like literally feel like you're on a threshold with a view of a new horizon, but like that sense is in you of like something different, you know, like I feel like I'm on the verge of like life being very different. But because I can't like see evidence of that, I'm still just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I feel like this is saying like, take a leap of faith. There are some cords, there are some attachments you're holding on to that are preventing you from taking that leap that you're already ready to take. Yeah, your artful self said that you're already ready to take it. So there isn't even a timing thing here. It isn't like, oh, the timing's coming up, so prepare. It's like, no, like, you can go. Like, this can happen anytime. Like, the window's here. More than anything, it could close before you jump. But I already felt that sense of like, this is happening. So I don't think it will close, but you could get pushed, which will be unpleasant or could be unpleasant or at least shocking. Or you can choose, right, to gently let go of some things and more naturally set out on that new horizon. If you don't know what this is and you don't have a sense of that, I mean, I feel like if you came here, you have some sense of this, but we are pulling something up that you're not conscious of. So I'm trying to tap into ways in which you can better identify what this is for you and connect to it. Let's pull out some other cards that might help you to pull this more and more and out from like the unconscious into consciousness, like what this is artful voice is talking about. What is this? I mean, I feel like it's saying you kind of know it's available, but part of you is just doing what you've done, even though you're already ready to let go and you're already ready to leap. It's just I don't know. Let's get more cards. Sometimes these mystery messages are really hard to like decipher what's trying to come up. Azurite and Orchid, Lyran Stargate, personal power, healing entanglements, throat opening. Interesting. Let me fix this card a little. That must be the Lyra constellation, the stars that are connected in the card. And those are orchids. I love orchids. Something about claiming your power here. What is it? Claiming your power by noticing those attachments and letting them go? No, I feel like you're already ready. You're just kind of more in a comfort zone with that. The power, claiming that personal power. And what I'm feeling here with that throat opening and healing entanglements, I don't think it's like a healing journey. I feel like it's like an action that you just need to take that would be really empowering. It's sort of, this is interesting. Like there's an attachment to some kind of oppression or repression that you've been experiencing, but it's become comfortable, right? It's like the normalized world. And because it's either an oppression or a repression, something, it's, like you've gotten used to not having some element of your personal power. But there's something about like, you're the only one holding on to that, like that. The freedom is yours to take now if you want, or something like that. What's coming through? Yeah, it's like the door is open, like you can untangle. Yeah, the entanglement, healing entanglements. You can untangle from something right now. It's available to you to untangle from something and to leap into that new horizon. But it is going to require you claiming your power, and that can be a really scary thing, especially if you've gotten like used to some aspect of your power not having control of. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. It's probably a little different how that is oriented or what that is in relation to for each of you. It doesn't feel like an overall oppression or repression. I mean, I don't know, there could be a person or two here that feels that way. But for the majority of you, it's more like maybe you haven't, because this is coming from this unconscious, this voice, this artful voice that you're not aware of the message it has. So there's maybe what it's talking about you're also not fully, completely aware of either. I think you're aware that you're on the verge of a new horizon and you could jump, but I think this empowerment thing is the thing you're not fully aware of, and something about where or how you're repressed. I don't even think you're like fully conscious of it. Maybe like the way finances are being handled in your house or something, like you don't have access to making decisions financially, or there could be laws where you live that have made you believe something about the kind of power you have, but like something's shifting, or like maybe you're moving, or a law has changed. I don't know, but there's something where it's like you need to claim some power that that you're becoming conscious of, that you have not been empowered in. Yeah, I want to say that versus saying like oppressed or repressed, like something you haven't had power in, you can now claim it. But it will transform, like it will take you into new horizons by doing so. So it's like that thing of like, well, I'm comfortable, even though there's something I don't have power over. And it might just be something small. It doesn't have to be this grand thing. But if I use my voice and I cut that cord, that entanglement, and I claim my power and leap into this new horizon, that's claiming something that then I have to claim, right? Like power is a responsibility. Sometimes it's comfortable to not have power, because then you don't have the responsibility of that power. And so there might be something kind of subconscious around that, where it's like just fear of power, fear of owning your power, fear of having power. It's not, you know how sometimes people say there's a fear of success? It's not that. It's not a success thing. It's like fear of claiming some power, some personal power, because then you have the responsibility, you know, then you're responsible for that power, for that yeah, it's just more, you know, it's a new responsibility. Even though it's empowering, it's intense, right? Power can be intense. That's interesting. I've never really thought of or heard the concept of like fear of having power. It makes sense. I'm sure that's a saying. I just personally haven't really heard it. Okay, moving on. I'm rambling now. Let's move on. Connecting to, so this is the Citadel Oracle, and it sort of has like kind of archetypal energies in it. And I'm using it because I want to see what this artful voice within you, the message it has, the mystery message it has, what aspect of you, what kind of more archetypal quality in you would this really impact in a positive way? And so the catalyst is what sort of totally flipped over. Radical change, taking control. You can't make that up. Yeah, it is required. Yeah, there's some threshold you need to, like some cords you need to cut, where it's like you need to take control, you need to take your power. And yeah, it does come with responsibility, and yeah, it does come with some radical change and some unknowns and a map you don't have access to. And so yeah, there's a lot of like, yeah, fear of the power, fear of change, fear of upheaval, fear of the new, fear of just the unknown, right? But like I said, where like for you guys, it's like I think it's going to happen anyway, whether you claim your power or not. And the catalyst confirms that, like you're either getting pushed into your power or you claim it. And the way of claiming it is much smoother and much more pleasurable and much more empowering. If you get pushed, if you don't do this and like really open your eyes to what this means in your life, it's like, and it gets pushed on you, that can be, I mean, I don't want to say it will be a trauma, but it can feel for a while traumatic. It can really ignite your nervous system, right? Some fight or flight that you then have to process and deal with and get over. And, you know, that takes some time and that's hard. And so I think if you do this of your own accord, you are your own catalyst. There's going to be something really empowering that happens for you and your artful side. Your artful side wants power too. It's being unleashed. Maybe that's the thing you don't realize you don't have a lot of power with right now, is like your artful side, whatever that means to you, because our artful side could mean a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be your artful side, but that would make sense with this reading, and this is the voice speaking, right? Okay. How do you take a leap and empower your artful side, where either previously it didn't have access to being empowered, or it's just not something you've never taken the reins of? Yeah. Okay. We are going to get some tarot cards. Well, this deck is part tarot and part oracle. It has the major arcana and then some oracle cards. I do have the guidebook next to me because I don't know all of the oracle cards in the deck. Some of them are obvious, but some of them, when I read the different oracle cards, I'm like, oh, that's not what I would have interpreted. So I'm like, okay, if I don't know one, I should probably see what the creator intended. At least generally. I probably won't read the whole description, but okay. So we're going to get a card for each of the cards that are out, just to add a little more context. So the Pioneer has magnetism, yeah. For sure, this is like your artful side wanting to be explored, right? Wanting you to explore with it, wanting you to unleash it. And in doing so, you empower yourself, and in empowering that voice in you, your artful side, or if you connect it to something else you need to empower in you, that your artful side is just giving you insight into. Either way, that connecting to your power brings you magnetism. That might be what you've been scared of too. Like fear of power or fear of magnetism is kind of the same thing. Fear of having magnetism, because that's a responsibility and that's an intensity. But your artful voice is saying like, and I think the reason I'm getting two messages around this is some of you, it is literally your artful side needing to feel empowered. But some of you, it's like your artful side is saying there's like a more prominent or more central empowerment being looked at. But in empowering yourself, or this aspect of you, it also is something I'm seeking. Like I come along with that. So it may be bigger, but you know, your artful voice connected to it, or it might be literally just your artful voice. But magnetism, yeah, claim some kind of power, cut some cords, take a leap into your power, and you will find your magnetism, the world. You'll find success, you're ready, you're more capable than you think you are, you're more qualified than you think you are, you've been tried and tested and been through the gamut and had your ups and downs with something. It's like, what are you waiting for? That's what I get. Like, what are you waiting for? You must know what this is. You must know what you're not empowering, what you're avoiding power in. Because clearly it's something that you've worked on, you've been on a journey with, and you've still kind of kept it at bay, even though you've tested it. And so if it were literally just your artful side, you've done things with your artful side, you've developed it, but you've never empowered it at the same time. Or it could be something broader but inclusive of your artful side. But you should know what this is. This is something you've really put effort into and developed, and you have all the strength and criteria and everything you need to kind of stand in your power. Nothing is going to knock you down. Like you have the strength, you have the integrity, you have the mastery, you have the success capacity. You will find magnetism if you jump it, like take that leap into your power, into this thing something, your artfulness, or something that includes your artfulness, but is broader than that. Yeah, that's the message coming through. Like, what are you waiting for? Don't be scared of your power. Okay, last card, the spider web with the catalyst. I have my own ideas about the spider web, but I feel like when I looked at spider web in the guidebook, it was a little different than I would have normally interpreted it. So I'm gonna just tap into it real quick. Let's see. It is card 30. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Oh my gosh. What? Okay, I gotta show this to you just so you can see if you're watching this. Allure, entrapment, entanglement, held back. Wow. Yeah, but coming under catalyst, it's like that's changing. You either choose to change it or it's changing for you, but it's happening. The catalyst is changing that held back, that entanglement, that entrapment. The spider web comes to illuminate where and what might be holding us back from feeling or doing our best. The strands of the web can be made of words, notions, ideas, or beliefs. Examine what the reasons are that make you feel stuck in some area. These can be situations, ideas surrounding you, or just negative beliefs about yourself that hold you back. Reflect on whether or not those things are really true. Sometimes we trap ourselves. Sometimes we feel trapped by others. Sometimes we are the ones who have created a trap for someone else. A trap can be any scenario where someone is not set up for success. It takes careful examination to see what's what. Sometimes we hold others responsible when it's ourselves who have created the limitations. If that's the case, escaping will only lead you back to the same trap you escaped from. If you feel stuck by ideas others have imposed upon you, the responsibility still comes back to yourself, for you are the one believing in it. Think of each negative thought as one strand in the web and challenge them to be thoughts of positive affirmation and truth. Cut the cords one by one until you are free. And remember, these things are sticky, so it might be an ongoing challenge. Mantra: I free myself from any negative ties that hold me back from doing my highest good. So yeah, that was confirmation where it said that it could be yourself limiting your power. And I do kind of feel that. I feel this sense of like fear of power. And that kind of came up again as a possibility in the guidebook with the spider web, is like it might be you creating some limitation. And so I do think this like entanglement and cords that are needing to be cut are like your own negative beliefs about yourself. At the same time, there's this catalyst energy coming, and the pioneer saying that like those cords are already dissolving. It's like the threads of the spider web are already kind of disintegrating. Like you're on that threshold of getting over those negative thought patterns and those negative patterns of where you've limited something about your artful self or some other aspect of your life, but that I think incorporates your artful self. And it's like, it's so close. Like you're on this threshold and your artful self is just saying, like, really be mindful here and choose this for yourself, because it'll be so much more empowering than like all of a sudden those threads just kind of falling apart and you sort of fall into the new frontier and like, like shaken up and traumatized a little and like feeling in over your head with this magnetism and power and like, I'm not ready. And then these fears freezing you and still claiming your power, but it's like a process then to kind of get on your feet with it. Where it's like, no, like pay attention and like actually cut some of these cords yourself, these negative thoughts, these negative patterns and habits and ways of limiting yourself, and take that leap for yourself. It's like, you're right there. It's like already in process. Just stay with it, become more conscious of it, choose it. Be proactive with it. Go, take the leap, right? Be your own catalyst here. Okay, so to end this, we're going to get you an affirmation card from the crystal realm. Just to leave you with like a positive encouragement that Spirit wants you to have around this reading. Feeling this back one. Red tourmaline, passion. I am the embodiment of passion. Yeah, and I think that's maybe the path toward being able to empower yourself and cut some final cords, is like really focusing more on what you're passionate about, and the heat of that passion will sever those cords. It's like you won't have to analyze and be like, well, how do I get over that? And how do I do this? It's like, no, the passion is the thing that overcomes it. The passion will burn through those webs and feed you with vitality and impulse to take the leap into your power, into ways of not limiting yourself anymore or believing negative things about yourself. Like, feed the passion that's already on the rise, and that is the thing that will help you to be a self-catalyst into this new frontier of owning your power, claiming your power, and having magnetism and success, and feeling something more artful come like really into life here. Okay, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this resonated. Pretty intense. All of these were way more intense than I thought they would be. I think I do all of my readings for a week on one day, and I feel like so I did 3 readings today, and I feel like each of them I went into being like, oh, I kind of want a light day. I'm like a little bit, I'm recording these on Labor Day, so it's like my husband's off and it's a holiday, and like if I do like quick readings, then I will have some time to go play a little bit. They've all been so intense and long, and which is great. I've loved them. I've been like, wow, like I got a lot out of these readings myself, so I'm no complaint. But it was like so funny how like unexpected these readings were. Anyway, that said, if it resonated, likes, shares are great. Kind and thoughtful comments are always welcome and fun to see. And good luck with this. It is coming, so choose it, right? Tap into that passion so that you can choose it for yourself. And amazing. You are, no matter what, stepping into your power and out of some limitations you've really entangled yourself in, probably for a long, long time, maybe like your whole, at least adult life, right? If you're an adult, I hope. Anyway, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. Good luck with this, and hope to see you back in future readings.